Welcome to the Shortway Show. Yes, it is a little bit late this evening. It's a little bit past 8 p.m. on the East Coast, and you are looking at my mug. That's kind of how it works. Larry Sharp here on the Shortway Show. I am very happy to have you giving me a little bit of chunk of your evening, and we have an amazing show this evening. We are going to be talking about election reform, which, man, everyone seems to talk about, but no one seems to have a plan. I got a guy here who absolutely does have a plan to do some election reform, specifically New York State, New York City, and across the entire country if we begin to build that out. So I hope you will help me welcome a former New York City teacher, a New York City council member, an attorney, and now the chair of Final Five NYC, Sal Albanese. How are you, sir?
Good, Larry. I'm honored to be on your program.
Oh, no, I'm happy to have you here. And I got to tell you, the thing that has made me think most about you is when I brought you up in the past to other people. Hey, you know Sal Albanese? Yeah. Very often I get this. What party is he again?
I am.
That's a compliment.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a Democrat. I've always been a Democrat, but I'm not very partisan.
Yes.
And I think you and I are in sync with a lot of people across America that the political system is broken. And
yes.
It has to be fixed. So our democracy is in jeopardy.
Correct. Absolutely. And I think when someone like you says that, there's enough people in New York City who will hear you, which is great because, as you know, we have trouble hearing each other. Like, we just don't want to hear each other. We want to yell and scream and, own the other guy and get them to look stupid, but we don't want to actually have a conversation. And I'm glad that you're picking up that mantle. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, but as a Democrat, you didn't like de Blasio.
No, I as I said, that's an understatement. I thought he was probably one of the worst mayors in the city's history. And I actually ran against him in 2017. I came in second. I had no money. I mean, there were 5 candidates. I warned people about de Blasio's incompetence and all of his play-to-play corruption. But as you know, Larry, better than anyone, if you don't have tens of millions of dollars to get on television and get your message out in our political system, you're basically, I was able to garner 16% of votes in double digits, the only one against them, but
still good.
We had no money. I was able to debate him twice, which was good, and that was helpful to get me into those double digits. But the political system is, he has, as a mayor of New York City, he's engaged in a lot of pay-to-play corruption. All the big money gravitated towards him, so we couldn't get our message out. But yes, I was a major detractor of Bill de Blasio.
And I think that has kind of made many people from that whole time want to have real election reform. And what I called it, and I think you're on the same page here, I called it when I was running the program, BRO, better ballot access, right? Ranked choice voting and open primaries. I feel like this is exactly what you're talking about too.
Absolutely, 100%. I was on the Charter Revision Commission in 2019. I was one of 15 commissioners, and I promoted a lot of interesting ideas, including nonpartisan elections, and I was outvoted on that. I also was promoting democracy dollars, which is a way to finance campaigns that don't have you indebted to every special interest in the world. And I was proud to vote for ranked choice voting in the primary. I wanted it in the general election as well.
Sure.
And I was outvoted there. But ranked choice voting in New York City has been, I think, was successful, but it's not enough. It's not enough.
Yeah.
Eric Adams was elected with 17% of registered voters in the city because the Democratic primary, as you know, in the mayor's race, and many races in the city of New York is the election. So you're coronated in June, and a tiny slice of the electorate elected Eric Adams. And I'm not a detractor of Eric Adams. I'm just talking about the process and the system.
The process is bad, right? Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah. Even if you're someone who supports Eric Adams, you probably shouldn't like the process to where he got elected.
Exactly. In 2013, Larry, Bill de Blasio was elected with 13% of registered Democrats. and no non, and we have non-competitive general elections. So what we're trying to do here with Final Five is, first of all, open up the primaries, right? So like Alaska just did, they had Final Four, and allow independents. 25% of the electorate in New York City are independent voters, and it's the largest growing demographic in the city. We want to open up
the process. In New York City, isn't it? It's over 1 million.
Yeah, over 1 million, 1.2 actually, to be specific. And apparently, according to the Veterans for Political Innovation, it's a group that's supporting our effort. 300,000 of those are veterans. They're and I know you're a veteran, and a lot of veterans, for many reasons, decide to be blanks, independent voters. So we want to open up that process of a single ballot primary, right, where you can run under any party banner or no party banner, allow everybody to vote, and the top 5 go to the general election, and then instant runoff kicks in, ranked choice voting in the general election. And by the way, I know you're very active with the Libertarian Party. In Alaska, because of the Final Four, the Libertarian was one of the Final Four. He eventually dropped out for other reasons, but it opens up the process. It introduces competition, and the person that wins these elections will have the support of the majority of the voters in the city or in the state or wherever. I mean, this is a national movement. Instead of being indebted to a small slice of the electorate, which is what we have now, right? So it's a system where competition kicks in, and competition is good. And then when you're elected with the majority of voters supporting you, you govern differently. You don't have to worry about those close primaries, right? Where you basically are pandering or only worried about that small slice of the electorate.
Well, let me go to the opposite one if I could, right? I'm going to go one step further. If you're doing ranked choice voting, you don't have to be so negative against your opponents who are supposed to be in the same party or at least thinking the same way as you to help out people, right? So I don't have to be so vitriolic against the guy next to me, because you know what? If I win, I might want that guy to help me out in some way. You know, he or she might be better at something. They want to bring them aboard. But if I just, insulted their mother, they're probably not going to want to, join.
Which happens a lot. And the other thing is, with ranked choice voting, is it minimizes what you said, the negativity, because you want the person's others. Say that person winds up being in 4th place, and you're competing. You want his supporters or her supporters, their number 2 votes, to go to you. So it minimizes that process, and also, we have such incredible polarization in this country. It would reduce that. It would reduce that, and also force people to work across party lines and actually solve problems. Instead of being obstructionist and realizing that you can get elected by solving problems instead of just pandering to a small slice of the population.
Solving problems in politics. I've never heard that before. I don't know what that means. That's an odd one. Solving problems.
That's why I get That's why I get into politics, to solve problems. And
there we go. That's your problem.
Yeah,
that's your problem.
Somebody said that. Yeah, you got a problem.
That's your problem.
One unnamed Democratic assemblyman who was in my area, Brooklyn, used to tell me, Sal, you know what your problem is? I go, what is it? He goes, you're interested in issues. Forget about the issues. Forget about it. You do too many issues, too many press conferences on problems. He goes, that's not what it's about.
Yes. Sadly, he was right. That's the worst part. But I want to go one step further, though, here, right? When it comes to this, it also allows the individual to do both an offensive and defensive vote, right? As a third party, what I always get, which is, Larry, I love you, but the Democrat might win or the Republican might win. I need to make sure that the other evil bad guy doesn't win. So I can't vote for you because if I'm a Republican, Democrat might win. If I'm a Democrat, Republican might win.
Right.
So this allows the person to say, Larry, I like you. So I'm going to put you first, but I'm scared of the other guy. So I'll put my guy second to block. So I get an offensive and a defensive vote. It allows third parties to have a chance at getting in.
No, absolutely, 100%, Larry. I think this is the gold standard of political reform. It's not the only thing, as you know, it's not
Sure.
a panacea, but it certainly will definitely help. And I'm proud to be part of a national movement on this. uh, the Institute for Political Innovation gave us a grant, so I hired
Oh,
two
very nice.
folks. So we got a grant to try to get this on a ballot next year in New York City. Unfortunately, we can't do it statewide because we don't have initiative and referendum, as you know, in New York.
Right.
That's why New York's in a mess because the political system
100%.
is so it's like rigor mortis. You can't very
Yes.
very it's so rigid, and the folks in Albany just want to maintain their incumbency, which is of course what unfortunately a lot of political folks they love being in office, Larry. They just
Yeah.
love it. They don't
And
want
the
to.
judges aren't
They don't
helping
want
us
to do it.
either. They aren't stepping in when they
Oh
should
no.
either.
Well, they're
Not
part of
helping
they're
us.
part of the system, right? I mean, they're
Correct.
produced by the system. I mean, it's I mean, we need an independent board of elections, professionalized instead of what we have.
100%.
We need an independent conflict and interest board in New York City. There's all kinds of and people. This is not, as you know, this is not sexy when you talk
Yeah,
to
it's
people.
not.
Yeah, their
No.
eyes kind of glaze over, but they don't.
Right.
What they don't realize is it impacts their quality of life. Good governance
Well,
is so important.
but it also does something else, right? I'm gonna. I guess I want to make sure people really get this. And we just saw it happening right now in Georgia, right? We just saw it. The Libertarian was the candidate that forced the runoff,
Right.
right? Now, here's a problem. There's two problems with this. Do we know how many people actually like the Libertarian? We don't, because without ranked choice voting, we don't know what the first choice of those people was.
Correct.
The reality was he probably wasn't going to win the election. I get that. But we would have known is it 10%? Is it 20%? How many people actually do that? Because if we saw in the first round that he got 10 or 20%, now the other people have to pay attention to that third party and move towards that third party.
Right.
But just getting 2%, they ignored him after. That's number one. But number two, without having ranked choice voting, they had to do a whole new election. So now it's money and time and everything and more waste when they could have just done ranked choice voting one day done.
They spent millions to run the election, and I think they raised probably between the two candidates $150 million. I mean, think about how that could be helpful in other like in education and on the environment. I mean, all kinds of issues. Yeah, I mean, it makes no sense to have a runoff.
Absolutely.
That instant runoff would have taken care of it, and we would have known how well the Libertarian candidate was going to do. You pointed out that a lot of folks. I think he got 3% of the vote in that
2%.
runoff. Was it 2%? So he might have gotten 10%.
Maybe.
Maybe who knows? I mean, and it would also, as you pointed out, have the candidates that win or the candidate that wins pay attention to some of those folks, and because unfortunately, and you know this, and I've run as a third party candidate as well, and people will not vote for you not because they don't like you; they just think you can't win, and I don't want to waste my vote. Which is ridiculous.
Well, here's the second piece, right? One of the reasons why it was only the Libertarian running, whose guy's name is Chase Oliver. The only reason why it was only him, there might have been other parties that also wanted to run, but thought, why bother? I'm not going to make impact. I can't raise money, all those things. But if all of a sudden we saw that Chase got maybe 10% or whatever, now next time someone goes, I'm a Green, or I'm a conservative, or I'm a, whatever. I'm a Veterans Party. I'm a Constitutional Party. I'm a whatever party. I'm going to try, because if I get 4 or 5%, they'll have to pay attention to me. So I wind up getting a better proportional representation, even if it's for an executive branch, whatever the case may be. I still get some kind of input, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's just.
So I think it helps.
And that's why it's been hard to implement. It makes a lot of sense.
Yes, that's right. That's my problem. I'm making sense here. What was I thinking? I'm sorry. Yes, that's right. You're solving problems. I'm making sense. No wonder we're in trouble. That's how it works. Yes, absolutely. But you do have people get upset though, and they get upset for two reasons. One of them is they feel like it's confusing. Like, wait a minute, just pick the guy or gal you want, and now I got to start ranking stuff, and I'm all scared. And I hear that all the time, but I don't see any evidence of that. I feel like that's just a story.
There is no evidence. In Alaska, they did a follow-up on their Final Four system, and like 90% of the people said they were not confused. And I heard the same argument on the commission, the Charter Revision Commission, when we implement the ranked choice voting. Oh, people don't know what they're going to be confused. They're look, it's not that confusing. People can figure it out. You're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? I mean, and democracy does take a little bit of work. Like, you got to read and listen to what the candidates have to say. I mean, it's not like a total spectator sport. I mean, you've got to engage, and if you want a good government, if you want the public interest to be aligned with the political system, you got to put a little effort into it. I mean. Right now, I mean, the book that you should, I'm sure you may have read it, but it's called The Politics Industry. Catherine Gale and Michael Porter wrote this book, and it's about the final five. It's a great book, and it talks about how the presidency.
Can you say it again one more time?
It's called The Politics Industry.
Got it. By
Catherine Gale, Gehl. She's the founder of the Institute for Political Innovation, by the way.
Okay.
And Michael Porter, who's a professor at Harvard. And basically, the book describes Final Five. It's kind of like the Bible for Final Five, really. The foundation, the philosophy is there. And they talk about how the system is basically benefiting incumbents, lobbyists, 100%. Consultants. I mean, these folks don't want change. I mean, it's
why not? They're grifting well.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, the money that's being made is ridiculous. So any kind of...
You bring up Final Five, right? And what I also get as a pushback is, Larry, California does this, and this is a disaster, right? But what they're not getting is...
First of all, why is
jungle primary, it's only 2. It's not 5, right?
Exactly. And I'm not sure it's been a disaster. I don't like it. I think Final Five is significantly better because it allows for more diverse candidates, for more diverse parties. That's why they're. By the way, San Diego is considering Final Five as well. As you know, Nevada just adopted it.
Yes, that's right,
and that's a big deal. So it's really moving across the country. Georgia has a committee in place to look at nonpartisan elections and Final Five in that state. So it's really expanding, and they believe that at the federal level, if you can get at least 10 U.S. senators to be elected under this system, you're going to have a better system. You're not going to have this deep partisan divide. I mean, I don't have a problem with partisanship. Different ideas, different concept. But when it's just about getting reelected and not solving problems, you're going to be an obstructionist no matter what issue, because you want to get...
There's a second piece, though, here, right? Even if you were to get any party, whether it's, you're talking about, Nevada, the Forward Party was heavily involved in the Nevada ranked choice voting. So whether it's Forward, Libertarian, Green, whatever is the third party, if you were to get just 4 of them, right, 4 Forward, 4 Libertarians, 4 Greens, whatever, in the Senate, they would run the Senate with a swing vote.
Yep.
They would literally run the Senate with a swing vote, right? You'd have to get those 3 or 4 senators to say yes, which means you'd have to compromise by default.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You actually have to solve problems and reflect the different views that are across America. I mean, the Forward Party, and we talked about it before we got on, is interesting. I think Andrew Yang is a smart man. I think he's done great work promoting it. He's endorsed Final Five. He's actually coming to our launch on January 10th in Manhattan. I endorsed Yang for mayor, by the way, over Eric Adams, because I thought the reason why I endorsed him is I don't agree with all of his views, but what I did like about the guy was he was not connected to all of the fixers in the city. I mean, I know all the fixers, and they basically, they're all involved with different candidates who are going to benefit their clients and what have you. And I mean, they're raising the lobbyists are raising money from. There's a whole inside fixer operation. And Yang was not connected, so that's why I endorsed him. Unfortunately, he lost, but he did reasonably well. The problem is that New York City is there's so many it's a minefield Well,
Yes, it is.
you step on, you step on the mine, and you wind up getting devastated by, by the media opponents. And
Absolutely.
you got to be
Yes.
very, very careful. As you know,
Yep.
it's
I was on stage with him last summer at Freedom Fest. And again, because I had the program idea, he loves it, right? Obviously, many things him and I don't agree with, but we 100% agree on election reform. Like,
right,
we are right in line,
right.
election reform. So I'm like, yes, yes, and yes, all
Well,
good.
you
Yes,
know, when I organized this group, I said to people, I don't really care unless you're a wacko. I don't really care of your personal views on issues, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, forward party, libertarian. All I want to know is, do you really want to expand democracy in New York City?
yes,
And we have a collection of those people. We have a forward party member. We have a libertarian, Devin Balkin, who ran for
of
public
course,
advocate on the libertarian line. He's part of our steering
absolutely.
committee. And
Yep.
so it's across party lines, and we're nonpartisan. And people say often, oh, well, it's a Democratic plot or a Republican plot. No, it's about democracy. It's about
It
expanding
is.
democracy.
And there's something that people don't understand. And you bring this up, but I want to bring it up even larger. There's you said 1.2 million New York City voters who are not part of either party. That's more than Republicans.
Right.
There's
Exactly.
only 500,000 Republicans in New York City.
That's right. That's exactly
So there's
right.
more other than Republicans. Why do other have less power than Republicans?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you know,
Yes.
Larry, it's about patronage, right? I mean,
That's correct. Yes.
The Republican Party in New York City is pretty much, it's basically semi-moribund, but they get jobs at the Board of Elections,
100%.
commissioners,
They're the ones who sued me off the ballot.
well, so
I know very well how that works. 100%. Yes.
It's a bunch
across the state, the whole state, there's almost 3.5 million people who are other, and only about 2.5 million Republicans across the entire state. So even across the state, there's more other than Republicans.
It's amazing. Arizona, I was shocked. I didn't know this. Arizona, the largest voting bloc, the largest demographic are independents, and there's Republicans and Democrats. Democrats are the third lowest numbers in that state. And these more I'm not a young person, obviously, and young people are registering as independents. They're turned off to partisan politics, and
100%.
can't blame them. So
let me talk to my audience real fast if I could. Guys, if you want to follow what Sal's doing, then do me a favor. Follow him on Twitter at Sal Albanese NYC. Follow him there. You'll see what he's doing. If you want to see what's going on with Final Five, you can. Final5.nyc, right? Go there, see what they're doing, get involved if you feel it's appropriate, get involved here, even if you're not in New York City, right? Because you can figure out what they're doing and bring it to your city. So you can still bring it to your city, even if you're not in New York City. But if you are in New York City, go check out what he's doing. It does matter tremendously because election reform is the critical piece to all other parts of reform. Otherwise, I can't do it, right? I'm not going to be able to make that thing happen. So speaking of that, a lot of people aren't sure how this works or they're worried or scared. But on your website, final5.nyc, you have a video. Can I show that video real fast? It's a short video, Sal.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm gonna pop that video on real fast just so you guys can all see it. So you'll see what we're talking about here and why this actually matters.
We deserve more than the lesser of two evils election cycle that creates levels of unhealthy competition that would kill any other industry. We can do better. How? Through what I call Final Five Voting, which encompasses 2 changes in how we vote for Congress, 1 in the primary election and 1 in the general. First, with open top 5 primaries, you won't have to choose a Republican or a Democrat ballot. All candidates running for Congress will appear on a single ballot. The top 5 finishers out of this open primary advance to the general election.
Now, I want to bring this piece up, Sal. A lot of people get scared when they see that, and they are worried that, well, then I'm going to have 45,000 people on the ballot. I'm going to have crazy people on the ballot. I'm going to have, everybody and their grandma on the ballot. you could still do this, but still have some form of vetting, right? I mean, you don't
Of
have to
course.
let anybody on the ballot, correct?
Of course. Obviously, in New York City, you have to garner a number of signatures to get on the ballot. You just can't get on the ballot because you want to get on the ballot. You've got to have. You obviously have to have thousands of signatures to get on the ballot. Not insurmountable, but certainly to demonstrate you have a grassroots base. You just can't get on the ballot. So
I always want to bring that up because people get afraid and start going, well, wait a minute. So I'm going to have everybody on the ballot. It's going to be, 14,000 people, right? I want to make sure that we understand that's not what we're saying.
No, absolutely not. And that would be counterproductive. And it would be a waste of paper when the ballot, they have to print out 50 names for one particular office. But no, there's a vetting mechanism. You've got to demonstrate that you can garner X amount of signatures, and they have to be valid. And they're going to be checked. You're going to be challenged to get on the ballot. You got to be legitimate.
Got it. Okay.
And in the general, you wouldn't be selecting just your favorite candidate. Instead, you would be able to rank all the candidates, first choice, second choice, through fifth choice, ranking as many or as few as you want.
Now, that's the piece I want to bring up also. If there are 5 candidates and you're satisfied with 3, but 2 you just can't stand, you don't have to rank the last 2 if you don't want to. People go, well, I don't want this. I don't want him or her at all. Don't vote for him or her at all. You can just rank the top 3 or top 2, whatever.
Absolutely.
You don't have to go all 5.
Absolutely. 100%. Yep.
Because some people are worried, well, I don't want to put my vote towards that person at all. All right, just do 2 or 3 of them.
Exactly. They could do 2, they could do 3, they could do 4. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's the way it works. If you find that some of the candidates are just totally unacceptable to you, you just don't rank them.
There we go. Absolutely.
When the polls close, the first place votes are counted. And if someone gets a true majority, over 50%, that candidate wins. But if no one of the 5 has a true majority, then the candidate that came in last place is eliminated. If you had ranked that candidate first, now you'd have your second choice vote counted instead. The votes are tallied again, and this process continues until we have the true majority winner.
Now, the other issue people say is, well, this will take too long, right? This will take forever. We'll be having elections for 6 months, but this can be done insanely quickly. I mean, it works in Alaska, right?
Absolutely. You may have to wait a little while. A little while, meaning maybe a couple of days or a week. But if it's close, and we've got that now going on in races across the country where, mail-in ballots have to be counted and what have you. So that's really should not be a major concern, especially as we get more, as the Board of Elections becomes more sophisticated and is able to really, there is software that can do this very, very quickly.
There we go.
Final 5 voting means that for the first time in generations, politicians who actually do their jobs well will be more likely to keep them. No more just deciding which candidate you dislike the least.
God, that is so important, Sal. What she just said is literally all of our elections for the past 10 years at least.
Yeah. You hold your nose, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, they both smell terrible, but this one doesn't smell as bad, so I'll just do that one. Yes, that is so important. We can actually start voting for people, not against them.
Correct. Absolutely.
Crazy.
No more enabling unhealthy competition. You can finally pick a candidate who delivers results.
There we go.
By the way, Larry, that is Catherine Gale.
There we go.
That's Catherine. She's the founder, and she's a very successful businesswoman who sold a food company that her family owned for years, and decided to spend the rest of her life trying to reform politics in America. I had her come in to address the New York City partnership, the business community here in New York City a couple of weeks ago. She was a big hit. So yeah, she's she's very, very passionate about the topic, and as you can tell, she explains it very, very well.
Well, the other piece I want to bring up, which people don't talk about, is this is also a fight against gerrymandering.
Yes.
Right? Because gerrymandering is everywhere, as we see all across the country. New York State, we just saw it again, right? It's all over the place. When you have ranked choice voting, it's a buffer against gerrymandering, right? Because right now, the people don't pick the candidates. The parties pick the people they want, and then the parties decide who is their top guy or gal. So there really is no say. There's no real say in who's going to win. The parties decide who the leaders are.
Exactly. Well, that's what George Washington and John Adams were right. Political parties could be very, very dangerous to democracy. You know, they increase. I mean, partisanship, terrible partisanship, really erodes democracy. I mean, gerrymandering thing that you raise it's unbelievable. Well, look what happened in New York. The courts threw it out, and maps were thrown by special master. I mean, the funny thing about
they
New
were
York,
both bad, right? The Democrats, Republicans both showed how bad they were, right?
Exactly,
the Democrats tried a map that was so bad that even judges were like, guys, I'm as corrupt as you, but I can't go this far. Like the judge was like, I mean, it's at one point I gotta say no. Like they were literally just gerrymandering Republicans out. And then when Republicans got it, they went, oh, my turn? Thank you. Let me do it instead.
Well,
so they both showed who they were.
If you look, I was very critical of Andrew Cuomo when he came up with this scheme that we're going to adopt independent redistricting in New York State. Meanwhile, who's appointing the commissioners on the redistricting commission? The Democrats and the Republicans. And of course, what happened, right? So it's a mess. That we really had a faux independent redistricting. Actually, Arizona, Wisconsin, and California have real independent redistricting where folks are chosen. They're independent. They're not connected to the political system. They're vetted very carefully, and it works there. It really does work. New York is allegedly the progressive beacon in America. If you listen to people, we're backwards here.
Absolutely, yes.
Our political system 100%. is like Neanderthal-like, really.
Absolutely.
And I say that as
if I could, a couple of comments. Brian says, is that video available to share? It is. Head on over to final5.nyc. Click it itself. It'll take you to the YouTube page, and you can share it directly from that. So, yes, that video is shareable, Brian. If you want it, please grab it and do that. That will be awesome. So, yes. Alexander says, smash that like button. Yeah, he's right. Do what he says. Click the like button. What are you doing? This is a great show. All kind of good stuff. Don't do me like that. Click the like button. You're supposed to do that. Do your job. It's free. So stop complaining. He's right. Do what he says. Click the like button. 100% true. You should absolutely do that. So yes. So Joe says, just joining. Why do open primaries? What about remove private organizations from taxpayer-funded elections, ballots, and registration cards? I get where Joe's going on this. He's saying instead of having open primaries, why wouldn't you change the system? And I happen to agree with that conceptually. I think Joe is right conceptually. My worry, Joe, and maybe Sal did a view on this, is the system is so ingrained, we're not going to change that system. And the best option is open primaries. But yes, if we can get rid of parties, I'd be with you. I don't know. Yeah. Sal, what do you think on this?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see the system totally overhauled, but we do have, there's a lot of constitutional issues, legal issues involved here. And as you pointed out, just the fact that, we're accustomed as Americans to go through this process, it would be very, very difficult for a number of reasons to do that.
Yes, absolutely. 100% true. Let me grab a couple of these here. Joel says, real politicians create a problem, then offer solutions.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
He's absolutely
and
right.
And solutions are usually not good.
Yes, they make more problems. James says, love the conversation. Keep up the fight for political freedom. Sal, you're winning.
Well, Larry, when you and I, and we're in sync on this, talk about this, and it really makes sense. People do get it. They question whether it can be achieved, right? Because people are so burnt out trying to reform our political system that they don't believe it can happen. But it has happened.
Right.
It has happened in Alaska, and they've had some good results. I mean, the extremists were basically they opened up the process, and the extremists were basically beaten over there. And folks that are being elected, Democrats and Republicans, and the Libertarian candidate was on the ballot as well. They did make a difference there, and when they opened up the process. So it's I think it's hard to really be opposed to this if you really are concerned about making this place a better democracy.
Absolutely. Josh says, if people are confused by ranked choice voting, it may be better for us all if they don't vote.
That's a good point. Yeah, Josh has a very good point.
Absolutely. I've asked you all to click the like button. I know I have, but I also, if you don't mind, subscribe to my YouTube page. It does matter. And subscribe to the Sharp Way YouTube page if you don't mind. It does matter. I know some of you subscribe to my Larry Sharp page. Subscribe to the Sharp Way page too. By the way, Sal, this actually goes live on like 8 different pages. So some people
I heard it's a very popular program, Larry.
Oh, I like that. It's very popular. See, that is right. That. Yes,
it's true.
There we go. I like that. So, guys, please do me a favor and do subscribe to the Sharp Way YouTube page. It does matter. Some of you on the other page, that's fine, but every subscription matters. Please, if you could jump to that, if you don't mind. So let me keep going. There's a couple more things here. Chad says, we have open primaries in North Carolina. I usually vote in Republican primaries, but since there wasn't one in 2020, I voted in the Democratic one. Libertarians would still do theirs internally. No problems, no real problems I know of. So Chad's saying it's fine. There's no issues in North Carolina.
Sure. I mean, wherever we have it in place, people are not confused. I mean, it's not that hard to figure out.
James is also North Carolina. He says this year in North Carolina, independent voters surpassed Democrats to be the largest voting bloc in the state. And there's no sign of us slowing down. So I feel like this is, maybe it's time has come. Sal, is this the time?
I feel it. I really do feel it in my bones, that folks, especially young people, are beginning to get really wise to the problems with these close primaries and this incumbent protection system that we have in place. And people want change. And
absolutely,
as you said early on, quite often there isn't a vehicle for change. I mean, we have one here now. We have one here.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
And, it's not panacea. It's not perfect, but it really will make a difference in terms of having better governance and maybe even better candidates. A lot of good people, Larry, as you know, don't run for office. Because they don't want to go through the nonsense, of these stacked deck elections, gerrymandered districts and going through, party hacks that you have to deal with, judges that are appointed.
Yes, go ahead. Running for office is just a series of disrespect. That's all it is. It's a series of disrespect.
Yes,
that's all it is.
Absolutely.
That's all it is. But, one after the other. So
I think you and I are happy warriors. So that's a good thing. You're a happy warrior like I am.
We have to fight the good fight. We do. Gene says, in Pennsylvania, we have closed primaries. That means only Democrats and Republicans can vote in primaries unless there are questions on the ballot. Democrats only get to vote for Democrats on the ballot. Republicans only get to vote for Republicans on the ballot. If our primaries were open, would Democrats and Republicans get to pick who Libertarians can run? I don't like that idea. I wholly agree with the ballot access and ranked choice voting, but open primaries, she's worried. This is a common thing we get, right? Is there an issue to where Democrats or Republicans would then try to choose the other one, right? So would Democrats rush over to the Republicans and vote in Republican primary and pick what they would consider a losing candidate, right? Or would they go and affect who the Republican is?
No, open primaries are in place in a number of cities across the country. By the way, New York City and Philadelphia, the only ones don't have non-partisan elections. It's very difficult to do that. Let's face it, you need a major conspiracy of folks working together in tandem to get that done. The chances, Is it impossible? No. Is it remote? Yes.
And that would be the issue, right? I mean, if say there's 3 Democrats running and 3 Republicans running, I would have to be so confident in my Democrat winning the primary that I was okay sending my voters away from me to go vote for the Republicans. Remember something, you only get to vote in one primary, right? You don't get to vote in multiple primaries. You pick one. So if you decide to vote for Republicans, you're losing Democratic voters. You would have to be so sure that you're going to just dominate. You're going to win by 70 points, right? I mean, that's sure that you would send your voters someplace else. I think the odds of that happening, Gene, to be forward, are slim. I think they're slim.
I would agree with that.
But even if there is some corruption here or there, if it happens, there's a whole lot more now. So,
oh my God, it's
there would be less.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you know, you can never totally eradicate corruption or conflicts, but you can certainly minimize them. And we have a lot of that right now. I mean,
absolutely.
It's incredible. What you know, the turnout is also dismal, and folks want to keep it that way.
Yes.
They want to keep it that way.
Oh my God, this is the point we didn't even bring up. This is even a more important point, right? Turnout has been low forever. New York State, New York City, sometimes 30, 40% turnout. And now that we have less parties, even less, I told the judges when I was trying to sue that 500,000 New Yorkers every single year show up to vote against the establishment. And that's been true for that at least 10, 15 years. It's been true.
Right.
And of course, here's the worst part. Most people don't know this. Since 2018, 4 years ago, we had about 1.5 million new registered voters in New York State. And from 2018, 500,000 less people voted. Exactly the number that I said.
No,
those people. Yes.
I mean, when you ask people, do you think the political system is broken? Most people will say yes. So you know, they raise their hand. It's universal, and we see examples of that throughout the country. So,
so I would actually argue that not reforming this is a form of voter suppression.
Yes.
And I think it's obvious. We see it when you remove independence, when you remove choice, when you remove the idea of being able to vote against or for. When you remove that, you by default have people check out and go, why bother? Who cares?
Right. Absolutely.
You actually suppress your voters.
Absolutely, 100%. And
yes.
It really is hurting our democracy more than ever. I mean, the polarization level is through the roof. I've been around a long time. I've never seen it this bad. You know, when I was younger, I mean, you really had people working across the aisles to try to solve problems.
Not anymore.
No, it's a disaster.
I agree. Sam says, love what Sal is saying. I hope we can get ranked choice voting in place and common. People need a voice, not just lesser of two evils, voting and non-participation. That's my biggest issue, is people checking out, right?
Yes.
Because once they check out, we start losing confidence in all of our institutions. And then we don't trust anybody. We don't trust anything. Everyone's lying. Everyone's wrong. Everyone's evil. This is crushing our society.
Larry, you couldn't be more right. I mean, I think our institutions are under attack.
Yes.
You know, no one. I mean, there's a large percentage of the population that exactly what you pointed out. They don't trust anything. They don't trust politics. Yes. They don't trust the media. They don't trust the agencies. I mean, it's terrible. It really is terrible. And you know, and political
brings up a point about Iowa. He says Republicans tried that, meaning switching registrations in Iowa several years ago. Ours switched their registration to D's for the caucuses. It made no difference.
Yeah,
and I think that's the point. To make a difference, you'd really have to make, to your point, Sal, a massive conspiracy.
Yeah.
Right? It would have to be a massive conspiracy.
Yeah.
So yes. Gene goes on to say polarization. I'm sorry, hold on. There we go. Polarization is not accidental.
No, I agree. There's no doubt. There's a political benefit to this stuff. I mean, you know, some of these folks, they love polarization because they don't have to solve problems. It's just
absolutely.
It's tribalism, right? They're terrible. I'm voting against them because I hate them, not because I'm voting for these folks because they can solve our issues. We have lots of issues in this country and many of our jurisdictions. It's all about tribalism, and politicians benefit from polarization. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
It's funny, I never forget. I quote this one often. I was watching Bill Maher a couple years back, maybe a year or two back, and he had two guests on, and both his guests were Democrats, and they were mad. Like, why do these Republicans vote for Republicans? Democrats are better, and they're voting against their best interests. Why do they not vote for us? And they were mad. And he looked at him and he said, because they hate you.
It's that simple.
It is that simple. Yes, you don't vote for somebody that you hate. You just don't. It doesn't matter. And I think that piece to me, when he said it, was like light on, right? Yep. So good, right on the money. But I want to go one step further, if I could, with everybody here, if you don't mind. Guys, I need you to do me a favor. I need you, if you're watching right now, to do me a favor, head over to theadvocates.org. They are my sponsor for the show. If you like what you're hearing, if you like this show and what we're doing, then support the show that way. Head over to theadvocates.org and take the government debt, money, and monetary policy test survey. Please take that survey. Larry, is it long? A little bit. It's like 6 minutes, right? The other ones I always tell you to take are like a minute. This one's a little bit longer. But for all you I hate the Fed people, this is literally your quiz. So do it. The government debt, money, and monetary policy quiz. Take that survey right now. Head on over there, take it. And when you're done, you'll be able to share your results. Share your results. Let people see it. Share it on Twitter. Share it on Facebook. Share it so that people see it and go to the advocates. Why do I want you to go to the advocates? Because the advocates have the world's smallest political quiz, and it creates conversations. All of their surveys create conversations, and we can't change this country if we don't talk to each other. And if I talk to you, you may not want to hear me, but here's something. It's a third party. It's this quiz we can talk about. It's this thing we can talk about. So please, guys, head over to theadvocates.org, take this survey, and when you're done, share it so we can keep talking about government debt, money. And there's no rules. You can be for, against, whatever. I know you're against. But anyway, I'm just saying either way, you can be either way. Take it, share it. It does matter, guys. Please help me out here. Support my sponsor. It does matter. Very important. And I want to be happy with Sal here. Follow him too. Follow him on Twitter, Sal Albanese at NYC. Check out what he's doing at final5.nyc so we can keep this moving forward.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. I have a little bit of a housekeeping I have to do every once in a while.
No, I understand.
But I want to go to someplace that a lot of people are asking, and I'd like to have your 2 cents on this. The 2022 election. Everybody said, most people said, I'll say that better, going to be a massive red wave. Republicans taking over everything, massive red wave. I didn't say that. I knew it wasn't going to happen. And the reason why I knew it was there was no positive message. It was just other guy bad. And other guy bad elections means status quo, basically. And that's kind of what happened. Do you have a view on what this election meant? Did it mean anything big? Did it not mean anything big? Was there any lessons from it? What do you think?
One of the lessons is that folks around the country, a good percentage of voters rejected wackos, total extremists. I think that the Republicans probably could have won some of those seats if they ran some sane candidates. I mean, election deniers, all of this stuff that has driven.
This is what Mitch McConnell said, right? Mitch McConnell was saying that they had what is it saying? Candidate quality issues.
Oh yeah, absolutely terrible candidates. Half of them were insane, election deniers. And I think that was one of the themes that I got out of the 2022 election is that a lot of people thankfully rejected people that were not. They were conspiratorial in their thought processes and just came across as not having any knowledge. I mean, Herschel Walker in Georgia, I mean, the guy was a terrible candidate. I mean, and Oz in Pennsylvania. And that was the message.
I thought Oz could win. I thought he's a popular guy, got a TV show, people know him. I was actually surprised at how poorly Oz did. I thought his popularity would pull him a whole lot further. I was very surprised.
Well, he didn't come from Pennsylvania. I think that hurt him. He was a Jersey guy, and that hurt him. Fetterman was, lifelong Pennsylvanian, and
That's true.
I think
Yeah.
the Trump endorsement hurt him. I mean, Trump's got his base, but it's not a base that that can carry the day. Mastriano, the election denier who ran for governor.
Oh, right.
He was a Trump guy. So I think that the Trump base, which is
So do you think, is it your opinion that Trump does no longer has as much power as he had in the Republican Party? Is this in your view the waning days of Trump influence, or no? In the Republican Party?
I think it's waning, but I think he still has significant influence. I think his base, hardcore base, will not move. As he said, he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue. Still get elected. I think he's going to be hard to beat in a Republican primary, especially if there are multiple candidates. But at 2022 showed that Trump was the best thing that ever happened to the Democratic Party this year, because
I think that's true. I agree with you. That's true.
I don't think they voted. They voted it. As you know, Joe Biden's popularity was pretty low across the country, right? But they said, well, listen, these folks are so out there that we have to, we're not going to vote for them. I mean, the Republicans just barely carried the House.
That's true.
As you know, McCarthy,
and if it wasn't for the terrible gerrymandering here in New York, they wouldn't have got as many as they got there. Anyway, right?
That is the incredible story that New York State actually allowed the Republicans to capture the House. 4 seats.
Yes.
I mean, you were following
Absolutely.
it, right? You were following
Yes.
it. You were writing
Absolutely.
candidate. So
I was like, my God, that's what it is. So
yeah.
Yes, Emily agreed with me though. She said, I thought so too. I thought Oz would win too. I thought popularity was going to pull him across the finish line. I was surprised. So yeah. And David says the Trumps will be with us until 2041. Oh my God, maybe. I don't know.
Hard to absorb that, but he may be right. I mean, Donald Jr. may be ready to run.
Maybe. So Sal, I want to say thanks for coming on. Is there anything that we should be talking about before we wrap this up? Is there something I missed? I hope I covered everything that mattered.
You did. I really enjoyed being on your program. I hope I get invited back. And just ask your viewers to follow us on Twitter, go to our website, and if they want to make a small donation, that would be helpful as well, because we do have financial needs to continue to sustain this effort. We have to, get signatures to get on the ballot. But I think that wherever you are in America, listening and watching Larry and I, really consider this vehicle, this Final Five vehicle. It will improve our democracy. And thank you for listening. Thank you for having me on, Larry.
Of course, absolutely. And everybody else, if you're watching on Twitter, then do me a favor, retweet this on Twitter, right? Retweet it, right? People they care. It matters. Retweet this on Twitter. If you want to tag Sal or tag me, awesome. I don't care, but retweet it anyway. It doesn't matter. Retweet it so other people can see this. This will keep going if we keep it going.
Yes.
So please do that. And also, click that like button. If you haven't clicked the like yet, what's wrong with you? Click a like. It's not going to kill you. It's free. Click the like. It's click it. All right. Click the like already. Click the like. Share it on Twitter if you're on Twitter. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the Sharp Way YouTube page. Every bit does count. That's how you support this show. That's how you support the show. I keep it going. And the last piece is go to theadvocates.org and take a survey. I don't care which one you take, but that's a cool one. That's a newer one. So take that one. Take one of them and share it. Right? I'm asking you to help me, and I'm not even asking for $1. Come on. I'm being good. I'm not even asking for $1. That dollar you want to give me, go over to final5.nyc and throw $1 there instead. Do that instead. But support this with me right now. I appreciate it, guys. All you're doing. Everybody, I want to say thank you so much for showing up tonight. I appreciate it. I will see you all.
Yes, thank you for